Hey there guys, what's going on? In today's best class setups in Modern Warfare video, we are taking a look at one of my favorite guns at the moment. With more close range maps being added into this game like Shipment and stuff like that, you do want a weapon that deals good damage very quickly with a large magazine. The PP19 Bizon does fit that description and is probably one of the more underrated weapons in this game for the time being. I've been having loads of fun with this thing for a little while now. When double XP rolls around, like when you do get a double weapon XP or double XP weekend, I always pick something and level the hell out of it just to see what I can do with it. For the last double XP, I did choose the Bizon and I'm glad I did. It is a basically 3 to 4 shot kill at most ranges. Outside of those kind of short medium ranges, it's going to be a little bit more than that. Like longer ranges, it does struggle a little bit, but 3 to 4 at close to medium range is pretty wild for an SMG, and it has like a 60 round magazine. Like the more I play with it, the more I like it. But before we do get into talking about the class setup here, let's try and get this video to 6 likes for one of the most underrated guns in this game. The support on the videos has been pretty crazy this last little month and a half period. Like we've had probably 70-ish new subscribers. So if you aren't subscribed, make sure you do click that subscribe button with those notifications turned on so you don't miss another one of my videos. Anyway, let's talk about the PP19 Bizon. So jumping straight into the class setup here, for most of my class setups, I do use the same perks and grenades on all my classes, including the sidearm as well. So we'll run over this part pretty quickly. Perk 1, EOD, great perk on pretty much any map and game mode, keeps you alive when some absolute clown throws a grenade at you, pretty simple. I like Kill Chain in the perk 2 slot to help me get those higher streaks, chopper gunner, things like that, VTOL, etc. You can also use Ghost if you're more keen on staying off the radar, and in the third perk slot, Battle Hardened, because getting stunned for 2 seconds is better than getting stunned for about 15 minutes. So there's not too much different choice there. I do like some of the other perks, but this is what I typically go with. Sidearm is always personal preference as usual, but I do like the Snake Shot 357 because I am a massive scumbag. But you can of course use whatever you like even a launcher if you're feeling a bit keen. Lethal, I usually bounce between Proximity Mine or Thermite. Area Denial is always good in a game like this, and Tactile, because I am the sweatiest man in the universe, the Stim Shot. So jumping straight into the attachments here in the Gunsmith. Man, I do love the Gunsmith in this game. I'll be sad when it does go and does leave us eventually. Like, I can't imagine Treyarch putting this into the new Call of Duty that they're going to do. Like, I just can't see it happening with the Pick 10, so this might be the last we see of the Gunsmith for a little while. Hopefully not, though. So without further ado, talk about the muzzle here with the monolithic suppressor. Damage range, sound suppression. I cannot speak highly enough of this attachment in this game. Sound suppression, damage range. You do lose a little bit of aim down, sight speed, and aim walking steadiness though, so there's a little bit of a trade-off there, but it's not too noticeable, especially with some of the other attachments with the aim down, sight speed improvements we can actually do. We get it faster and we don't have to worry about that downside as much. Like, in terms of sort of other attachments that you can go with, I guess you might be able to go with the compensator, but you sort of do get similar sort of negatives, so you might as well just go with the increased range for the cost of the aim down sight speed. It's just one of those things you need in this game. Extra damage range, 3 shot to 4 shot kill range extended further out. Very good. Moving on to the barrel, I use the 8.7 inch polygonal, which is this boy here. You can also sometimes use the 8.7 inch steel barrel, but we'll talk about that in just a sec. So with the polygonal one, it is damage range and bullet velocity minus aim down sight speed. Not bad. I feel like the polygonal one offers the best combination of bullet velocity rather, damage range, and movement speed balance. Like the 8.7 inch steel, as I was talking about earlier, does give you a little bit of recoil control as well, but it does slow you down more than the polygonal one does. So both of these options are pretty good, and you can definitely choose between them as you do prefer. Like, this is mostly personal preference between these two barrels. I do choose the polygonal one to keep my movement speed as high as possible with this attachment setup. Plus, the Bizon doesn't really have massive recoil anyway, so the improvements you get with the steel barrel aren't really necessary most of the time. In the laser slot, I'm a massive fan of the TAC laser. Like, it's one of my favorite attachments at the moment. Aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and aim walking steadiness. It is hard to go past this in my opinion. If you are going to use a laser, this is the one that I would use most of the time. The aim down sight speed is so valuable in this game. Like, most of the time, if you get those sights up first, you're probably going to win the gunfight. I know netcode does have a bit of a factor in this, and sometimes you miss and blah, shoot first and die first, etc. Like, it does happen sometimes, but like, you want to give yourself the best chance that you can. So this is very valuable in this game. I do like the TAC laser a lot. If you do try and avoid the lasers because you have trouble hiding it, just sort of aim at the wall. Like, aim at the wall next to where you're trying to aim at, and then sort of do a little bit of a flick over. Just try and hide it as best you can. It's not too hard most of the time. You could also use the 5 milliwatt laser sometimes, in my opinion, if you are more interested in rushing around spraying people down, which can definitely work out most of the time. but sometimes you'll be better off just sort of being a little bit more careful aiming your shots and stuff like that. So on Shoot House or Shipment, the 5mm laser can still do work. I just said, God, Shipment's dumb. It's crazy. Such a goofy map. So for this, I'm alright with the iron sights. For the Bizon, they're usually pretty clean. I don't have too many problems with them. So I don't think a sight is usually necessary. But if you do want to use one, I'm a big fan of the GI Mini Reflex and the Cronin LP945 Mini Reflex. These two provide a very, very clean sight picture. If you've not used them before, you probably want to try these out. If you're looking for a decent sight to use, these are very, very good. If you do want to run a sight, I do suggest you sort of drop off the laser. Like these are your two probably interchangeable ones. Like these three here. These, like the laser, the optic, and the PERK. You can sort of get away with swapping these between each other. I tend to go with the laser. You can go with the optic or the PERK, up to you really. I do use a tack laser on this though, so I tend to not really use an optic on some guns. So most of the SMGs you can sort of get away with not using an optic because you're sort of not firing at those longer ranges where you don't need an actual clear sight line to kill someone. Like that's again with the Gunsmith, that's probably one of my favorite things about it. Like you can still have a lot of options here. So if you're not really comfortable running the laser, you have trouble hiding it, you can get away with using a sight. It'll lower your aim down sight speed a little bit, but you can make up for that with other attachments. If you don't want to run either, you like run sleight of hand or the helical 84 round magazines, which we'll talk about in a sec. We don't use them, but we'll talk about it a little bit. In the stock slot here is the Big Daddy Corvus Skeleton stock, which gives it that aim walk movement speed and aim down sight speed, which is very, very good for a gun like this. It's hard to go past this kind of attachment. Like, there's not really much better options here. Your factory aluminum stock is your aim walk movement speed, or your Corvus custom skeleton stock. Like, this is what you want to go with. Don't worry about this one. I think it gives you aim down sight speed. I'm pretty sure you don't really need that with this, especially when this gives you both. Like, it's hard to go past like the fourth option here when this does both. So you can also get away with running the no stock as well for that movement speed and aim down sight speed. You do lose a little bit of recoil control, so it's usually not worth it most of the time. But if you're on like Shipment, Shoot House, very close range maps, you can always get away with this if you want to sprint around and be really, really aggressive. The no stock can work, so this is again personal preference depending on what map you're on, how you play, stuff like that. So you've got choices here. I usually just go with the Corvus skeleton stock though. As I was talking about a little bit earlier, I'm not too much of a fan of anything in the PERK slot apart from sleight of hand. Like I said, sleight of hand pretty good on any gun, but you do have 60 bullets to work with, so it's not like you're going to be running out of ammo or reloading too often anyway. But if you are looking for more bullets, you can always just run the extended mag, give you that 84 round magazine for that aim down sight speed and movement speed decreases. Usually not worth it most of the time, but yeah, you can get away with this if you're feeling a little bit sort of spray on those larger maps. You just want to spray more bullets downrange. It can do a job. It's not usually worth it, but you can get the job done. 84 rounds on an SMG is pretty hilarious. Lastly, in the rear grip slot, that's a hard trio of words to say, rear grip slot, you can either use the granulated grip tape, the rubberized grip tape, or the stipple grip tape. All three of these options are very, very good. Like, it sort of depends on how you want to play. Aiming stability and aim walk steadiness sort of keeps you on target, keeps you steady. You don't not sort of waving around too much with the sight. Stipple grip tape, as you know, does give you that aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed. This is pretty good. Like, makes the aim down sight speed on this gun. Like, you get minuses from places, and this sort of makes up for it along with the tack laser. So I do typically use the stipple grip tape, but you can also use the rubberized one. Recoil control. There is a little bit of bounce, not too much on the Bizon. So if you do struggle with the Bizon's recoil, which that happens, fair enough, you can get away with using this, and it should make it a little bit easier to use. You don't move slower, but your sort of aim stability is a little bit worse off. So these are all up to you. I typically do run the stipple grip tape. In my opinion, it is the best option here, but all these three are up to you. Personal preference. So this is the full loadout that I use with the monolithic suppressor, the 8.7-inch polygonal barrel, the tack laser, the Corvus skeleton stock, and the stipple grip tape. There are a couple of changes that you can make here that I already mentioned in the video already. If you do play a bit differently, you've got plenty of options here to make the Bizon suit your playstyle, but this is what I use. I think the Bizon is one of those guns that will always be pretty slept on in this game, mostly because of the MP7 and the MP5. Like, it's hard for any other SMG to shine through, really, but if you've already got them gold, or you're just sick of using them, sick of murdering everybody on the map with the same two guns over and over again, the Bizon will certainly get the job done for you. Anyway, hopefully this did help you out a little bit. If you did enjoy this, make sure you do leave a like and do subscribe if you are new around here. I'd very much appreciate it, and it would very much help me out. I think we're at 355 subscribers at the moment, which is pretty wild, so hopefully we can get a couple more. If you want to click that subscribe button, make sure you do so. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. Have a good one. Bye!